Kayfabe
Kayfabe
Avenue.
Avenue. Clear up the closing doors, please. Unjustifiably in a position I'd rather not be in. But the grind, rise to the top, oh yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, heels and faces, casual wrestling fans, and all you smart marks. This is Kayfabe Avenue, and I'm AJ, your host. We got a lot to talk about. A lot is going on in the wrestling business. Heel Cena, we got pay-per-views left and right. We have a European tour that has been nothing short of amazing. I don't even know where to begin, but I guess we'll start off where we kind of left off on the last episode. A couple of things that have happened in between the last time I spoke to you guys. The first one being the AEW Revolution pay-per-view, which was honestly, I think it was a return to form for AEW as far as pay-per-view quality. Going into this event, they finally had that mixture that I feel like they've been lacking over the past couple of months, where action meets storytelling, and every single match on this card actually had a decent to great storyline going in. Highlights of that event being Tony Storm and Mariah May. Hats off to those ladies. They definitely had a historic match against each other. Very brutal, very bloody. Definitely one that you want to go back and watch if you have not checked out Revolution from 2 weeks ago. But that's definitely a standout match. Is going to arguably be match of the year when it comes to AEW. The total package, the end of a trilogy, um, and about a year worth of storyline between Tony Storm and Mariah May. So definitely enjoyed that. That was the standout match to me of that night. Um, a good honorable mention, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher in the steel cage match. We had, that was an amazing match. My only critique maybe was a little bit too much overdone. Um, Specifically the thumbtacks, that kind of stood out to me only because one, you had to follow Tony Storm and Mariah May. They used the thumbtacks in that match to the best of their ability. It was definitely like a good mix in that match. But when it was used in the cage match, it kind of felt like overkill. Like, you guys are leaking maybe 2, 3 minutes into this match. We have just literally seen tax used in the Tony Storm match. So that would probably be my only critique. Sometimes less is more, and I feel like the cage match, while it was a good watch, and of course I encourage any of you guys to go back and see it if you haven't, but sometimes less is more, especially when a spot has been used previously. I think the entire night, anyone who had to follow after Tony Storm and Mariah May had an uphill battle for them. So, um, I get the want to throw as much in the mix, the shock and the awe, but Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, just them unite, uniting in this match to face each other after the months that they've had, the back and forth, Kyle Fletcher coming out on top mostly, and then a month or so ago, Will Ospreay teaming with the returning Kenny Omega against the Callis family. So, another match that was a lot of story going in. Could have probably been perfect in my eyes if they would have scaled back some of the blood, maybe specifically the thumbtacks, because we did see it already. And that's one of the things that kind of AEW suffers a little bit from is like they throw too much at the wall and they repeat themselves a little bit too much. Another standout of Revolution though was the Mox and Adam Copeland. I was about to call him Edge, the Cope. Um, I don't think it was a necessarily bad match, but it also wasn't the greatest. You had a whole event built behind storylines going in to into almost every match. This was no exception, but the mock story is just not working. I can't harp on it enough. This Death Rider thing, it doesn't matter what players you use, how you've been piecing them together, it's just not working. They need to start focusing on people like Swerve, who actually won his match against MJF at Revolution. Another good standout match. Even though, side note, I do agree with Bully Ray as far as it's kind of bullshit when you see certain finishers used in a regular spot and they don't sell it like a finisher. It takes away from the moves, it takes away from the endings. I do see why Billy says it hurts the business when they don't protect the moves, and that's probably the only critique I have as far as that match. The Tombstone Power Driver onto the steel chair on the outside of the ring that MJF delivered to Swerve. I feel like that should have been it. Uh, I do agree. Overall, great match. Swerve because the number one contender. But back to the Mox Cope situation. I keep trying to call him Edge, people. I don't think I'm ever gonna get used to that. But Cope, they had a good match, good back and forth. What ruined the fucking match was the ending. You have them going back and forth. Then all of a sudden, Christian shows up, who's been holding this equivalent to the Money in the Bank contract in AEW. He's been holding this for a couple of months. We've been wondering where is he going to pull the trigger? When is he going to pull the trigger? And finally, he does in the middle of a situation where Mox is down, Cope is down. He comes in fresh as hell. These dudes was already fighting for maybe 20 something minutes. He comes in fresh, no injuries, no attacks, nothing. Gets in the ring, instantly gets choked out by Mox. Mox retains the title. This was the worst decision that AEW could have done because it's like, what the fuck was the point of the last like 6 months with Christian holding over this contract, being in the position he was, holding down AEW in a situation where their product was getting stale. A lot of their main people were injured. They didn't have Ricochet. They didn't have Kenny Omega back. You know, a lot of the stars that are in the forefront now weren't then. So Christian was literally saving the show, was the most entertaining factor in the show, but you decide to let him cash in and then get choked out in the way he did and he lose. So you give a reprieve to Cope so he could get his little rematch, but you completely move on from Christian and the fact that he cashed that in. That was a fail. It was tone deaf. People do not want Mox as the champion right now. His storyline, his group is stale. There is nothing that they are doing that makes sense. You can't keep doing the NWO finish week in, week out, and expect us to still be behind this group, to still feel like they're a big force to fight against. What happened to Team AEW versus the Death Riders? That shit came and went, no resolution. We get this match with Edge, excuse me, with Cole. He's supposed to be the one to take the title. He doesn't do that. Christian cashes in. I get it. You want you want to build Swerve as the face of AEW, as the person who's next in line, maybe the one who is gonna take the title. I get that. If anything, I applaud that. I love Swerve. Swerve is the guy. Along with him, MJF, and Hangman, I feel like those are the three guys that you need to build most of the divisions around, especially the important, like the AEW World Title picture. These are the main guys you want to build around. But you don't want to do that and then give them no resolution, no real reason to come out on top. Like we're supposed to be stopping the Death Riders and stopping their little movement. And like I said, if you're gonna have Swerve be that guy, I get it, but you did not have to use Christian in the capacity that they used him. You completely wasted Christian. Uh, Christian's win for the contract. You completely wasted Christian himself. You made him look weak as shit. And that I'm not okay with. Coming out of Revolution, that was like the biggest complaint I had. The only sore point in the entire card for me. Again, recommend the show. Was a return to form as far as pay-per-views go. Um, Me having been to what was the last event I went to? I don't know if it was Full Gear. It was one of the pay-per-views. It was the last event they held in Long Island. When I tell you, we kind of wanted our money back. It was not a good show. Um, just everything, the technicalities of it all, them not using the in arena screen, trying to help show the rest of the crowd what's going on, what promos happening. It was terrible. So I came out that last event that I showed up to. Actually wasn't in Long Island. It was the Prudential Center event. I'm off the top of my head. I'm forgetting what event that was, but we did have an episode where we were in the parking lot before the event. Guys can check that out on Kayfabe Avenue, wherever we stream our podcast, or you can view them on YouTube. But that pay-per-view was just a total fucking letdown. So this was a return to form. I do hope they keep this momentum going into the next couple of events, because it's like the Prudential event, it took all the steam out of me as far as a AEW fan. Um, I don't prefer any brand over the other. I love wrestling. Enjoy all the wrestling that you can. The more we can consume different products, the better. It's better for the business as a whole. But AEW was in such a damn rut. They, you know, they have the issue of one great event and then they don't follow up properly, or multiple great events surrounding a specific story. Once the story is closed, we get lackluster events, and that has to change. They have to invest more into the different characters, and I'm hoping that's the direction that we're going. So, out of this pay-per-view, Swerve is the number one contender. I, f- I hate using this word, but I feel like Christian really was buried in that moment. The Dynamite after Cope and Mox didn't even mention Christian. The opening segment with Mox talking about the event, they completely overlooked the fact that Christian interfered, completely overlooked the fact that it became a triple threat or what have you. They just completely ignored the fact that this man just cashed in, wasted his contract, and now he's already getting put in a program against Nick Wayne of his own stable. Really? That is the payoff? We get all of this Mox bullshit that we want to already move past. We got all of this Christian and his family, and his crazy promos about fathers, and the great job that he's done over the past year, and we let him cash in on Sunday, and by Wednesday we're already over it. We're just gonna move Christian into a program that has nothing to do with a championship, that has nothing to do with Mox, that has nothing to do with Cope, and then we're going right back into a program with Cope and Mox. You guys didn't follow up correctly. I definitely don't agree with that direction. The Death Rider shit is already old. Let's fucking move on. Let's really move on. Before we move on from the actual AW Revolution pay per view, shout out to Mercedes Moné. enjoyed her match, but recently I have to give credit where credit is due. I do not like her booking in AEW. I feel like all these titles that she has in multiple promotions, they're basically just a prop to make her seem more important and more prestigious than she is. We don't need all those other props for you to not defend those belts on AEW programming. Keep them wherever you're traveling to on your indie circuits, your little indie runs. Cool. But if you're not gonna drop or put people over, what's the point? But I want to give her credit where credit's due because when she first started in AEW, in my opinion, you don't have to agree, she was absolutely the drizzling shits. And I'm not talking about in ring because in ring we can always appreciate Mercedes Moné for what she does. She normally has good to great matches with everybody she's in the ring with, but the losses are not working for her, brother. She's not gonna have it. We got Monet Hogan, and finally, not only give her some credit for finally evolving her character to the point where I can start enjoying it, but I need to give credit to Renee Paquette. If it wasn't for her interviews with Monet, I don't think I would have found an avenue to enjoy Monet's character. But the backstage interviews of the past couple of weeks, her and Renee Paquette have been phenomenal. Definitely got good laughs from it. I want to see more, but I want to see Monet in a position where she doesn't come off like a female Hulk Hogan. We don't need you constantly going over everyone at every point. I get it. You have on this feeder streak. That's your story going forward, but I want to see tribulations. I want to see you go through things. I don't want to see you pick indie star of the month, beat said star, and then rinse and repeat. And that's what I feel like is happening in her division specifically. I feel like that's what's happening in her matches. It's a rinse and repeat situation. And I think with the little bit of momentum that she got going character wise, she's finally found that comfort. They finally found where they can showcase her where she doesn't come off as just totally fucking annoying. So I hope they continue that, upward momentum as far as character wise. But maybe not the TNT title. Honey, you gotta start losing some. You gotta actually go through shit. And nobody you're wrestling is actually like super mainstay on AEW roster. Half of them aren't even on the roster. So let's see you pulling more women from the actual active roster list to wrestle against. Give these women a spotlight. Don't pick random indie person from Stardom or wherever to wrestle. You give them the spotlight. They're gone after that match is over, and then what do we have? Who did you help progress in the women's division of AEW? Because ever since she wrestled Stylander has been doing a lot of nothing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Same thing with Willow. All of this backstage tension between the women and stuff. Where's Britt Baker? Where's Jamie Hayter? Where's all these women that could actually be a contender, that could actually give her a program that could last a couple of months? Where's Serena Deeb? Where's all these people? We need to put milk cartons, missing signs on milk cartons for the women's division, and a couple other people. But like I said, honorable mention to Monet. I did enjoy her match. I'm starting to enjoy the character work. um, Mostly due to Renee Paquette and the interviews that they do together. But that was, for the most part, Revolution. I'm not going to run through every single match. We have a lot more to talk about in the wrestling world. So that was AEW. Switching gears and jumping to the WWE side of things, the last 2 weeks have seen them on Raw, SmackDown, in a European tour, traveling to different countries. And after the Elimination Chamber, everyone knows John Cena went heel. So my opinion coming off of that event was I feel like too many people are jumping on the wagon too soon, and they're marking this as the greatest heel turn in the history of history. Comparing it to the Hulk Hogan NWO turn, which I feel like is an unfair comparison. Hulk Hogan's joining the NWO, that not only shifted wrestling business, it shifted everything, sales, what company was on top. Um, it brought the competition. They almost crushed the WWF at the time, when they had the competition. The NWO, 30 years later, still has the same amount of impact, inspiring groups like the Bullet Club, factions like that that have lasted and stood the test of time. It's branched off multiple different groups. And I say that to say this. John Cena heel turn, will it go down in history? Of course it will. Will we always remember the day it happened? Of course we will. Can we compare it to an NWO Hogan situation? I think not. You're giving a little bit too much credit as far as the impact of what this will do. S- John Cena's only impacting John Cena's career. John Cena's only impacting John Cena's run. There's no secondary or third or fourth superstars that are teaming behind John Cena that are going to reap the benefits of his heel turn. There's like nothing really that I see that's going to shape the business or change the trajectory of the business. This is strictly a John Cena thing. Cena only has about 9 months left, 10 months left in his run. Whether we like it or not, this is the end. So my concern in our last podcast, talking about the Elimination Chamber and the results of that and the Cena heel turn, my concern was that in the 9, 10 months we have left with him, if he's not here full time, which he hasn't been, um, it's been 2 weeks since the Elimination Chamber. He just showed up on Monday Night Raw in Brussels, Belgium, and I'm worried that he doesn't have enough time to do the heel turn properly, to really like grind everyone's gears, to push the envelope, to give us back-to-back historic moments and legendary moments, with also being able to do a full story arc where you fall, you rise, you change your ways, you redeem yourself. The hero's journey, as they call it in movies. I don't see him being able to complete the hero's journey in 9 months. Um, but I will say, holding him off for 2 weeks and not, giving him an interview, not immediately showing him, people were saying, what version of Cena are we gonna get? Will he return to Thugonomics? Will he pivot and instead of the jean shorts and sneakers, now he's in slacks and suits and, maybe new music. We got nothing. We got nothing. We got none of it. And I appreciated that. Why? Because John Cena coming out in Belgium was probably the best decision they could have done in hindsight, because that crowd was on fucking fire. They made a legendary segment 10 times more legendary because of the reaction. And you know what? Being a United States citizen, we got to do better. We get the majority of these shows and we don't show out or show up the way Belgium did. Every time they're overseas, those crowds like outshine us 10 times over. And I appreciate the fact that Belgium showed up, they showed out, they made this segment 100 times better than it probably was going to be. And Cena says it. You get nothing. You guys have been wondering if I'm gonna come out new music, new gear, new look. No, because I don't dress like you. You dress like me. You guys are using me. I'm in an abusive relationship with the people. For the past 20 plus years, you guys have been booing me despite everything that he's done, despite the triumphs, despite the sacrifices. And you know what? I fucking loved it. I loved it because it's he's changing nothing but changing everything at the same time. The looks on the faces of the fans wearing his merch, the children that he even pointed out in the crowd, you are an example of a toxic, abusive relationship. You guys buy my merch, it isn't for me, it's to make you feel better. And as someone who has in 20 something years been watching WWE since I was a kid, fully locked in as a teenager in the 90s, the highlight of the Attitude Era. In all these years, I've never bought a single John Cena merch. And I feel validated in that fact because John Cena's not talking to me. He's talking to you guys, the Let's Go Cena guys, who he clearly pointed out. I was always once he left Thugonomics, a little bit after that, maybe a year later, he was the Golden Shovel Cena. And I feel like he should lean in that too. I am the Golden Shovel. I pick my spots. I decided I'm in the chamber. I decided to team up with The Rock. So I think he should lean into the Golden Shovel gimmick a little bit or incorporate that about himself into his new situation. But it was everything that we needed from heel Cena, especially on day one. Because now you can start trying to implement change or do a couple of appearance changes subtly. But the fact that you came out and was like, basically fuck all your expectations, screw everyone who was on the fence about me. Now you don't have to pick a side. I'm putting you on the other side. I love that aspect. Cody comes out, and this is the crazy thing. For Cody to come out, tell John Cena straight up, who is this guy standing in this ring? Because the person that's standing in front of me isn't John Cena. Go back, go find that John Cena because if this is the person you're presenting at WrestleMania, you're gonna lose. I'm gonna roll right over you and I'm gonna retire you early. Go find the real John Cena because the person standing in front of me is nothing but a whiny bitch. Gold, fucking gold. This is promo gold because Cena's turn has already flipped the script so much as far as the characters. Cody, who is a known whiner, who is who is known to come off as a whiny crybaby kind of promo. Not saying that that's what he really is, but a lot of his promos, he tears up, he cracks up, he shows emotion, gets emotional. For him to finally be on the other side of that spectrum and being the tough guy in the situation, we finally getting the development from Cody Rhodes that we've been lacking. Because is he believable in ring? Of course. Appearance wise, he got the full package. But when it came to his promo work, comes off like a crybaby bitch. Now, ever since the Kevin Owens, Randy Orton storyline that played out between them three, he's actually been getting some edge on him. He's been getting a little bit of attitude on him ever since then. And now we're getting the version of Cody that's like, I'm not here just kissing asses to put the masses in those seats. I'm already solidified. I'm gonna give you grade A Cody Rhodes now. And we've needed that for a long time. So definitely appreciated the promo. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Belgium, one more time. Because if it wasn't for you, that segment probably wouldn't has have been as legendary. Probably wouldn't have been in the forefront of my mind as much, and I wouldn't have been as excited to jump in, get you guys a podcast. We're doing the audio version this time because I just need to get these thoughts off. And that's exactly what we needed leading into WrestleMania. Now that fear of will Cena make it work, not being here week to week, I still have that in the back of my mind, but now I'm a little bit more confident because the way they presented this was amazing. Not only that, it was the show opener, and the Belgium crowd kept that momentum throughout the entire night. That was probably one of the most enjoyable Monday Night Raws in a long time, and that's saying something. Just that fan interaction. Again, America, you need to step it the fuck up. Make American audiences great again. Because these overseas crowds are killing us in that department. The rest of Raw, great, great showing. We had the Intercontinental title match between Kaiser, excuse me, not Kaiser, between um Braun Breaker, the champ, and Finn Balor. What we did have, and is why I mixed up Kaiser, we had Kaiser versus Penta for what seemed to be the number one contendership. And I want to just say hats off to Penta. A lot of people on these wrestling forums, a lot of people want to be funny and cringy and talk shit for the sake of talking shit about Penta because he left AEW. A lot of internet trolls. Oh, Penta's on main event. Penta's been on Raw almost every week, heavily featured. He's also doing the main event matches, so he's getting the exposure. And this match was definitely like a collective result of his work. He's finally gelling. Him and Kaiser gave one hell of a show. Um, that move that Kaiser did to Penta on the announce table, one, Jesus Christ, that had to hurt. And two, what the hell are they making these new tables out of? If that shit breaks, you know that they you know trying to sell that shit as like the hardest hit possible. Because so far we've seen that table almost kill JD. We've seen Braun Breaker slam people on it. We've seen people dive across it, and the shit doesn't even move. Shout out to the announce table, but Penta's definitely getting his shot. He won what seems to be the number one contendership. Braun Breaker retains the championship after a decent match. We had some Judgment Day interference, which is starting to kind of get me annoyed a little bit. It's like the Judgment Day isn't functioning on a regular basis unless they have some type of interference. And it's like I get it, they're the heels, but let's not forget who Finn Balor was. Let's not forget the potential that Dominic Mysterio has, and let's also not forget Carlito is a veteran. You guys shouldn't be losing in the way you guys are losing. You guys shouldn't rely so much on the interference and the manager at ringside. Those wins are starting to get stale. Obviously, it looks like Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio are heading towards a clash, and that group they might renovate the group or just make a whole new group altogether. But I think the Judgment Day is kind of going through its course. I think it's at the tail end. I don't think they could milk it anymore, especially if they continue these ways of trying to get victories and the way that they have been losing. Um, Other than that, Raw was definitely a worthwhile watch. Go back and see that if you haven't. Um, Cena and Cody Rhodes being the highlight. They're gonna be back on Raw next week, so we don't have to wait super long for another John Cena Cody Rhodes interaction. Um, the way he left that ring, it was kind of like facial reaction wise, it gave the impression like, all right, I'll give you this, Cody. I got you, and I think he's gonna go hard next time. Um, Another big development was Seth Rollins coming out, cutting his promo regarding the CM Punk steel cage match from the week before. Speaking about how that transpired, the tribal chief interfering, and we're actually heading into this triple threat. match, which seems to be is going to be the main event of one of the nights of WrestleMania. Which, if you're gonna give CM Punk his main event without it being for a title, this was the perfect way to go about it. Roman is not in the title picture, neither is Seth. These three guys are very deserving, and this was the smart move to pair these three. And that's enough star power to overlook that a championship isn't closing one of the nights. So, kudos to CM Punk finally getting his main event. Can't wait to see their interaction. Friday Night SmackDown this week will be featuring Roman, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins, according to Seth's promo. Um, so looking forward, looking forward to that. I want to see Paul Heyman's um, role in this, because in the steel cage match from the Raw from a week prior to the one I'm speaking about, in that cage match, after Roman Reigns interfered and attacked Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman was consoling CM Punk in the ring, and then Roman decided to attack CM Punk as well. So good story going in, a lot of moving plates. Um, this is definitely going to be a good road to WrestleMania. I'm gonna definitely be, more intentive to make these pods to get more content out to you guys, and get my thoughts and my opinions out. It's a great road so far. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well, and I hope you guys stop and check out the pod after these episodes go up, and continue to support like you have been. Our podcast has been through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of faces coming in, coming out. The guys get busy, but I'll always be here to try to at least keep the show going, to keep us in the know and in the mix of the wrestling community. We appreciate all you guys for everything you do. And if you haven't contributed previously, please contribute now. All it takes is a like, share, subscribe. We're on all podcast streaming platforms: Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcast. And usually for the visual version, we do it on YouTube, as well as our audios are on YouTube as well at Kayfabe Avenue. And this has been AJ, your host. I can do this all day, but obviously we don't have the time. We got to get back to work. We got things to do. We got more wrestling to watch. So see you guys next time.